Welcome. This is the Lifetime Cashflow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. This is where you'll learn strategies to help you achieve lifetime financial freedom through real estate investment. Your host, Riyad Khleif, has owned over 2,000 homes and apartments, and he brings experts in all aspects of real estate investment and management onto the show. Now, here's your host, Riyad Khleif.
Welcome to another edition of How to Build Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. I'm Riyad Khleif, and I am thrilled you're here. I know you guys are going to enjoy the gentleman we're talking to today, but before we get started, I want to just mention a couple of quick things. I love it when you guys reach out to me and tell me about the deals that you've bought, and that I can hear the excitement when you tell me about it, and you're on the path to success in your business. So if any of you that are listening have purchased a multifamily property as a result of learning or being inspired by this podcast, please email me at rod@rodkhleif.com and tell me about it. I'll tell you, nothing makes me feel better than to get those emails and have conversations with you guys about your deals. So please give me that gift when you take action. Again, that's Rod at RODKHLEIF as in Frank.com. Also, I want to thank you again for your patience in waiting for my book. We're so close to getting it sent, and thousands of you are on the list for a free copy, and I promise it's coming very, very soon. If you're not on the list, please get on it, because I'm only going to give it away free till the end of the year, but it's my gift to my listeners. And for those of you who don't know about it, it's 200 pages, all about multifamily real estate investing. There's no fluff. And if you want it, all you have to do is text Rod to 41411, and we'll put you on the list. And last but not least, I want to mention I love interacting with you guys on social media. So if you want to connect with me and interact, please look me up and like my page on Facebook at Riyad Khleif or on Instagram. And I look forward to connecting with you guys. All right, well, let's get this show on the road. My guest today is Joel Florek. He's 23 years old, and he's already got 20 units, and he's got a compelling story, and I want to talk about how he's bought them. And Joel, I'm thrilled you're here, buddy.
Hey, happy to be here, Rod. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. So I know you got started right out of college, and let's go ahead and elaborate on my introduction. Tell us who Joel is.
All right. So I grew up in Marquette, Michigan, in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, the UP. Pretty small town. Grew up with parents who happened to love renovating homes. For my brother growing up, he was into hockey, and I was into a bunch of sports myself. So my parents did a lot of house flipping while we lived in houses growing up. Occasionally, they would keep them for a few years to rent out. So my whole life, I've been involved in renovating houses and watching my parents having successes and failures through the handful of rental properties that they've owned. So while I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, going into college and life after college, I always knew that real estate was going to be a focus in my life. So I decided to study finance at Michigan Tech. And with that said, I decided that multifamily real estate investing was going to be a key focus as I entered the job market. And when I graduated last year in 2015, I started investing in multifamily real estate in Iron Mountain, Michigan.
Wow. Now, so let's go back to that. And that's great that you had your parents and as mentors, and that you had you were able to see them turn and flip houses, and that's invaluable education. To be there while they're doing that. It's much better than anything you'd learn in a book. Let's talk about that first deal. I understand it's a 16 unit. So tell us how you found it, number one, and then we'll get into how you took it down.
My first deal was actually a 4-unit deal.
Oh, okay.
And then 10 months later, I followed up with a 16-unit deal.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about the 16 unit, because that's very exciting. Let's talk about that one. So how'd you find it?
Yeah. So it was actually a pretty kind of interesting story. When I was first doing my canvassing of the market, trying to understand what are the properties in the area? What amenities do each of those properties offer? What are the price points that the units are renting for? This property, Crystal Lake, was actually one of the units that I said, hey, if there's any unit that I would love to have here in town, that would be it. That looks like a fantastic property. Sure enough, during one of the renovations of a unit in my 4-unit property, my carpet installer gave me a tip of some owners that were looking to retire, and they were in the process of trying to sell their 16-unit building, Crystal Lake. So through my carpet installer, I got some contact information and I gave the owners a call and said, hey, I'm interested in continuing to build my portfolio. Understand you have a property for sale. I'd love to chat more.
Wow. And guys, those of you listening, vendors are an incredible source for deals. Once you develop relationships with carpet installers, like he said, electricians, plumbers, masonry, pavers, all of those guys know owners that are looking to sell because they'll contact them and have some things done typically before they sell. So that's fantastic. That's a great way to find a deal. So tell us some details. 16 units, how many bedrooms in each unit, and what was the price that you ended up negotiating?
Yeah, so 16 units. All of the units have either a deck or a porch that overlooks a lake or, a rather large pond. Everyone has a carport on the property, kind of secluded. 2 bedrooms in each unit. 4 of the 16 units are 2-bedroom, 2-bath, designed as having a master suite. So overall, a pretty nice property with a lot of great amenities, built in 1993. So a newer property, certainly not brand new, but not a property from the early 1900s for that matter.
Wow. No, that sounds really nice. It's like a B+, A- type property. So what did you end up negotiating as a price?
We ended up negotiating to $685 for a purchase price. Okay.
And what is that? $685 divided by what is it? 16? What does that work out to a unit?
Just over $40,000.
Yeah. Okay. Super. And what are the rents? What were the rents, or what are they now per unit?
The rents per unit range between $590 when I bought it to about $660, and all of those are being bumped up by $10 or $15 each.
Okay. So tell us about the finance side of the deal. Tell us how you structured it.
Yeah, so that's where this deal really got exciting for me, especially at a young age. Not having much capital myself, only money that I had been able to save up through my day job that I was working as a program manager for an engineering company. What I ended up doing at that $685 purchase price is I was able to couple both seller financing as well as a commercial loan through one of our local banks that is pretty strong in lending to small businesses, and they love multifamily real estate right now.
So what loan to value did they give you, the commercial bank?
So what the commercial bank looks for is a loan to value or loan to purchase price of at least 80-20 is what they were looking for.
And then how much did the seller finance on top of that?
The seller financed what ended up being about 17% then of that 20% that I needed to come up with. Okay. So the way that the numbers worked out on that is the bank financed $550,000. Yep. We added some closing costs on top of that loan. The seller ended up financing $110,000. I only brought $5,000 of my own cash to the table.
Wow.
And I also got another $7,000 loan through Wells Fargo. And then we
Just
had
a signature
some
loan,
deductions.
or just a signature loan from Wells Fargo?
Just a personal loan based
Okay.
on my credit and my day job that I have.
Okay. All right. And so you got in for 5,000 total, and you got, did you get any deposit credits or any tax or any prorations that helped you as well on your down payment?
Absolutely. What we ended up doing is we had a proration for the rents for that month. We closed on the 1st, but we kept all those rent checks going to the sellers so that I could land just about $10,000 in prorations. And then we also had tax deduction as well. So that helped to significantly lower my closing costs.
Right.
When I went closing up on the property.
Fantastic. So, I went online. I saw your website. It's very nicely done. Do you actually use that to rent units? Because I know you've got an application on there. You've got, the properties. It's very well designed, and the properties look nice on there. Do you actually send people to that site to apply?
Typically, I run mostly through Craigslist.
Okay.
In our market, that's where people are going to look for properties, either Craigslist or the local newspaper. It's a smaller town.
Sure.
The clientele that, I'm leasing the units to are either, retirees that are looking to move out of their house to a apartment where they don't have to worry about maintenance. They can fix their living expenses. Or it's the young professionals moving into town for new engineering or manufacturing jobs in the area.
Okay.
So Craigslist has really been the driver for all the leads that come through. But occasionally people do hop on my website, and I've leased a handful of units through that. So for the $100 a year that it costs me to keep up that website, it kind of a nice space that I can, put out for my company, and it does lead a few people to lease units.
Yes. So you guys that are listening, I know that some of the larger players, they'll take the website and they'll put a whole video of the unit on there. They'll have lots of pictures and, really position the property very nicely online. But Joel, your website's very nice. So what's your ultimate end game with this property? Is it a buy and hold, or do you ultimately plan to sell, or what's the plan?
Nope, it's buy and hold.
Good for you.
My focus is to create a lifestyle business. My dream is to be able to spend 6 to 8 months out of the year either sailing the Great Lakes or out on the ocean sailing with a family.
Nice.
So I need to make sure that I have a business that can support me in that lifestyle, both monetarily as well as through being able to have the time to actually do that and not be required to be at my business at a day-to-day basis. What's exciting is I've actually moved down to Michigan City, Indiana now, so I'm about 7 hours from my rentals. But I have, a maintenance manager on site. I'm in the process of getting a leasing agent onto my team. So I don't need to be, at my rentals every day to have the checks rolling in and to see this income and wealth build for me. So
you've got so let's dig into that a little bit, your team, so you've got a maintenance guy that lives on site that you pay on the side to do work there?
Correct. Yeah, I give him a deduction in his rent, so it comes out to about $320 a month is what I'm losing in revenue off that unit. But he takes care of mowing the lawns, snow blowing the sidewalks in the winter, salting to make sure nobody's slipping. Any maintenance calls, he goes and takes care of those. He can, replace all the light bulbs and smaller issues. Anything bigger that needs a contractor, we do have a team that's already set up in place. So if there's a plumbing issue that, he can't handle or he's not confident handling, he knows what plumber to call. And that person knows our properties well. goes and fixes the issue, and I simply, get the bill.
And does he supervise the contractors that come on site? Is he like your boots on the ground there then?
Absolutely.
Okay. And guys, those of you listening, and you may have heard me talk about it before, you may not. It's definitely in my book, where these smaller units like Joel has here, these 16 units, anything under really 30, even 40 sometimes, are a real sweet spot in this country. And the big issue for most people is the management. Now, you guys have just heard about a great way to manage a property like this remotely by having somebody on site. Now, I will tell you, you don't always find the perfect guy the first time. And, maybe this person and maybe you had a relationship with him. I don't know. But sometimes you have to go through a person or two to get somebody that really, has integrity and really keeps an eye on the property so things don't derail. But that's a great way to do this. Now, when you say you're going to get a leasing agent, are you just going to hire a broker or somebody a la carte that if you've got an empty unit, you'll give them a percentage of the rent if they lease it for you? Is that the plan?
So yes and no. I am working through realtors to find somebody who can go do the showings for me. But rather than just paying them to show the unit or fill the unit, what I want to make sure that I'm doing is aligning their incentives to achieve my financial goals. So I don't want them to simply find anybody and throw them in the unit and say, sure, they met the qualifications, give me my, $600 bonus for filling that unit. I want to make sure that they're finding the best possible tenant that is going to move in there and hopefully live there long term.
Tell us how you're doing that.
Yeah. So what I'm doing is it's basically, a commission. But I have it on kind of a scaling basis. So that way, it's all based off of occupancy. So the, last 3% of occupancy is pretty much going to go all to the leasing agent. So what that incentivizes them is to make sure that they are keeping everything at, as close to 100% occupancy as possible. That also incentivizes them to find long-term tenants, because if they have to keep turning over units because they put someone in who's only going to live there for 6 or 12 months, that's going to be more work for them next year. So it's that, making sure that they profit, in the same way that I profit, of making sure that we keep occupancy as high as possible from tenants who are going to pay their bills every single month for years to come. And what's great is because of the type of property that I have, people want to live there long term. Some tenants have lived there for over 10 years at the property.
Wow.
So I really only expect to see 30 to 50% turnover each year.
So let me ask you this. You say you give them the last 3%. So obviously that signifies that the property's got to be 100% occupied, number one. What does that work out to? What does that work out to, that 3%? And before you answer that question, are they also playing a management role as well, or is it just leasing?
So the way that I look at my leasing agent is they're responsible for the financial success of the property. My maintenance manager is responsible for making sure all the toilets work, making sure that everything looks good. So my leasing agent, if we're at, say, 90% occupancy, they'll essentially be earning, say, a 2% commission. But if they hit that 95% occupancy, then that commission will bump up to maybe 3.5%. And like I said, that last, say, 3% of occupancy, all of that revenue ends up going to them. So they could potentially earn 6 to 7% of my total rent coming in.
What is your total rent on a monthly basis?
My total rent is going to be
600 times 16, about just under 10,000.
Yes, but then I have the additional 4 units, so it'll come out to about $12,000.
$12,000, and they could get as much as 7% of that.
Correct. Yes, if they keep it full and everybody's paying their bills. Because what you have to remember when you do your financials, you already plan for a vacancy in your calculation.
Sure.
So if I simply take a chunk of that vacancy that I already factored in, and I simply give that as a bonus to my manager, or my leasing agent for that matter, then I can reduce the percentage that I already put in my plan as, say, 5 or 6% that would go to a management fee. So I actually come out ahead by, say, 1 or 2% by structuring the bonus system to align my leasing agent's incentives with myself.
No, I love it. So guys, when you go, when you're doing the financial analysis on a property, you're going to put in a vacancy factor. And most people use 5%, or sometimes if it's a tougher property, they may go a little higher than that. But so basically what you've done is you've incentivized somebody to minimize or eliminate that vacancy, and they get paid very well if they do that. So it's kind of a win-win. And so you've already allocated for it, and you've got someone really quasi managing your property for your vacancy factor. No, it's very, very very, very interesting way to do it. I think it's a great idea. And so you're looking for that person now, or you're running ads or whatever to try to find that person now?
I've got a couple contacts that I've been in touch with, realtors that people recommend who actually do this kind of leasing agent role on the side for a few other landlords in town. So it's just a matter of, I'm in the process of kind of clearly outlining their role, clearly detailing the financial benefits for them. And next week I'll actually sit down and have lunch with a handful of these different realtors, talk through what I'm looking for, see if it's something they're interested in. And, if they don't work, I'll kind of, keep knocking on different doors until I find somebody who will be able to fit into that role. But, for a small town, to give somebody the opportunity to potentially make, $6,000-$7,000 in extra income per year in a low cost of living area, that could be a great opportunity, given that I only expect this to take them about 20 hours maximum per month of effort for them.
Sure, if that, it probably won't even take that much if you don't have a high turnover. So what's next for you, buddy? Are you looking for other deals?
I am looking for other deals. Like I said, I'm down in Michigan City, Indiana now. So I'm looking at the lower peninsula of Michigan, the Green Bay, Fox Valley, Milwaukee area of Wisconsin is interesting, but of particular interest is Indianapolis for me. Wow. So I'm probably going to be going down to look at a few properties that are on my radar here in the next few weeks. But I want to keep growing. My objective is to hit 150 units.
When? What's your deadline?
By 26, I would love to
3 years.
That goal.
3 years, 150 units.
3 years from now.
So basically 130 units in 3 years. Very doable. Heck, you could do it with one property. Are you gonna syndicate, or are you gonna try to do this with bootstrap it, or how do you plan to buy the properties?
I'd love to do it just the way that I closed my 16 unit. Right. What's great is I kept full control of the property.
Right. You don't have any partners. It's all you.
Exactly. So yeah. I only have to answer to myself and, of course, the people I borrowed money from. Sure. But I'd love to keep going that way.
How are you going to find the deals, though? Are you going to like try to do a mailer? Are you going to try to get off market deals through a broker? Have you got a strategy in mind?
Well, there's a couple different areas I'm looking at. I mean, obviously, I'm keeping an eye on everything on market, and mostly that's so I can really understand the price points.
Sure.
I'm making sure to knock on the doors whenever those come up, so that I'm talking to realtors and brokers, and making sure that they all know my deal criteria of what I'm looking for, so that way they can keep their ears and eyes open for me. And what's been exciting is,
hey, let me stop you there for one second. Could you share with us your deal criteria? Because this is one of the things I talk about in my book and when I coach people, that you have to establish deal criteria. So I'm really glad you brought that up. So tell us, when you call a broker, what do you tell them you're looking for?
Yeah, so what I typically tell them I'm looking for is nothing less than 8 units. Unit count is important, especially because it's, I'm not going to be on site. I'd really love to be at, 20 units or more, but I will consider a great opportunity at 8 units. A maximum valuation of $2 million.
Okay.
I have other people who I can go to partner with on deals right now.
Right.
If the right opportunity presents itself. So I don't want to limit myself to, only smaller deals. I think the sweet spot for me is going to be somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million is where I think my next deal is going to come.
Now, do you tell the brokers that you're looking for sellers that are willing to participate, or?
I don't limit it to that, but I say, those instances are of particular interest to me. I feel like there's a lot of people, a lot of investors out there who are going to say, I want someone who's going to sell or finance. Well, everyone would love someone to sell or finance.
Sure.
It makes it a heck of a lot easier in most cases. So I don't want to limit myself to that because I feel like it could discredit me with some brokers that saying, hey, it's just another guy looking for an easy deal.
Right. And that's smart, guys. That's very, very important what he just said, because the market is hot right now. So the really kicking brokers are going to probably not pay any attention to you until they've actually seen you close on a deal. And if you come at them and just say, I'm only interested in seller financing, they're not going to take you seriously. So what Joel is saying here is important, and in these broker relationships can make you a ton of money. So it's very, very important that you treat them like gold and follow up with them when they send you a deal and let them know why it doesn't meet your criteria if it doesn't, and be very respectful of their time. That's very, very important. So, and it sounds to me like that's what you're doing, Joel.
I'm trying my best at least. So.
Yeah. So you've got a lot of markets you're looking at too. Wow. Wisconsin, you're looking Indianapolis, that whole sector around Chicago, it looks like, huh?
Yeah, well, with my properties being in Iron Mountain, Michigan, I actually drive through Chicago, Milwaukee, Fox Valley, Green Bay before I can get to my properties in Iron Mountain. So I've kind of grown up always knowing, those different towns and areas. And of course, I, over the years have friends or have built real estate contacts in all of those areas. So if the right opportunity presents itself, it's kind of in the line of, as I'm going from where I'm living to where I own properties, it allows me to stop and kind of, either meet with banks or meet with contractors or just check up on the properties. I don't necessarily want to drive 10 hours in the opposite direction from where I'm living now to go stop and check on something. I want to, be able to drive, a 6-hour or 10-hour direction and be able to, maybe stop at 3 different towns I own properties in along the way.
Yeah, no, and I want to go back to one other thing you just said that I want my listeners to pay attention to. Yeah, one of the things that I tell people, and it's in the book as well, is that when you start out, pick 4 markets, and definitely have an investment criteria like you do, Joel. So you're not trying to be all things and look for all things. Just say, you don't tell a broker, just send me any deal you have. You've got to have criteria. But when you're picking a market, there are 4 markets that I tell people to start in. One is your backyard, obviously. That goes without saying. Another one is a place that maybe you've lived for a while, or you've spent a lot of time in. And the third one would be a place where you have boots on the ground, where somebody, and that's what I just heard heard you say, you go through these towns and you've got friends, so you've got boots on the ground in some of these places that can help you. Because if you're 10 hours away and you need somebody to go check on something, you need boots on the ground. So that's the third. And the fourth would be somewhere you want to retire. So those are the four I tell people to focus on first. And then, of course, there's some parameters that you want to look at when you're picking a market. You want to look at, population growth, job growth, economic development growth, and income growth, and all those things. But and you don't want any one employer towns. But what you just said is very, very important. That and you're doing it perfectly because you're already familiar with these areas, and those are the ones that you're targeting, and you've got friends there. So that was really good, very valuable insights for my listeners as well. Let me ask you this: besides your family and learning, looking over their shoulder and helping them, did you do any other training or education for this business?
Yes. So, one of the things that I witnessed through family was it was always a hobby for my parents. Both of them had other jobs, a nurse or, my dad as a plumber, and then transitioning to some other employers through his life in construction. But they never really treated real estate as a business. So understanding that I wanted to do things similar to them, but also do things differently so I could see more financial success, I looked out to other people, other investors who were living the lifestyle that I wanted to live, and then understand what type of investing they were doing. So I did a lot of that, through just online research, Bigger Pockets, the online kind of social network for real estate investors is
so
kind of
you
a great
reached out
resource.
You reached out to people and did you find any mentors, or you just asked questions?
I can't say that I have any one particular mentor that's helped me. What I do have are a lot of people who I've seen do it one way or seen do it the other way. I've gotten on the phone with them, had conversations, discussed over email, discussed through blogs, or, called the local guy who is, dominating the multifamily real estate market in my college town and said, "Hey, can I meet you for lunch and just pick your brain? I'd love to be doing what you're doing and want to know how you got to where you are and try to learn some things from you." And he happily, took me out
right.
to
And
lunch
guys, that's all it takes. So you just have to ask. People love to share what they know. I mean, what a compliment it is when you call a guy like that and do what you just did. And so, it's not hard. All you have to do is ask, and people are very, very gracious, and it'll surprise you how accommodating they'll be and how much they love to talk about their successes and help other people. It's that's awesome. Well, listen, go ahead.
So I was going to say, when it comes to all those conversations, in my particular instance, like I said, there was never one person who stood out as being the, sure, end all be all mentor, but it was the collection of everybody's, opinions on, do it this way or do it that way, that then I could kind of pull that together and say, for the lifestyle that I want to have, for the market that I'm in, for this particular property that I'm looking at, I can pull from all of these different, experiences that I've learned from and apply that to build the portfolio that I have today and try to continue to grow it.
Sure, absolutely. And the fact that your dad was in the construction industry is a big help as well. That's invaluable, education through assimilation there. The last question I want to ask you, I do these 5 to 10 minute weekly episodes regarding the psychology of success, because 80% of your success in anything is your psychology, and really 20% is the stuff we've just talked about, which is the mechanics. So I always like to ask my guests, where do you get your drive? So Joel, what makes you jump out of bed in the morning?
I love sailing. Like I said, I have a goal of wanting to travel and sail around the world. I've been fortunate to have had opportunities through scholarships or my own trips or through help with my parents to travel the world and travel a country. So I want to get back to that lifestyle. And when I look at some of the other goals that I have in life, philanthropy goals that I have, I know that I need to own a business that provides me the lifestyle that I want.
Yep.
So it's that drive every day to get up, to try and make tangible progress towards being able to achieve that goal.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, you've been a lot of value today, buddy. I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show, and let's stay in touch. I'd love to see how your investment career progresses, and thank you so much.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you. It's been a lot of fun being on the show today.
All right. Take care. Bye now.
Thank you for listening to the Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. If you've enjoyed the show, please subscribe and then take a moment to visit iTunes and leave a 5-star rating and review. For more resources to connect with us further, please visit our website at lifetimecashflowpodcast.com. Tune in next week for our next show.